Welcome back to MVM. Today we have a review. This one is for Asmodee's social experience style game called Black Mirror Nosedive, based off the actual Nosedive episode from season 3 that had Bryce Dallas Howard in it.
Yeah, it's probably one of the more famous or more popular episodes of Black Mirror, in which basically everybody has a social rating.
Yeah.
And anytime anybody does a certain action, everyone can rate them. Which sounds super scary, but this is like a real life thing that is starting to happen in places in the world.
It actually is. This is a very unique style of game. Now, this is definitely one of those that falls on the party social experience line, because this is something that can be really played by just about anyone. All it requires is the game, which is just a bunch of cards, and then the app, which it comes with its own free downloadable app.
Yeah, and the game cannot be played without the app. So I know for some people that's a big turn off right away, but for this kind of a game that is supposed to represent that social experience, the app is a must-have and actually feels very integral to the gameplay.
All right, so it is a 3 to 6 player game. It takes 30 minutes
About 30
to play.
minutes, yeah.
All right, so the game is represented by cards. All of these cards there's basically 3 types of cards. There's the cards that are going to be different types of social experiences in the game. They're rated from a level 1 to a level 5. And those are points at the end of the game, depending upon what you're rated for in the actual app itself.
Yeah, the goal of the game is to collect these lifestyles. You want to collect as many lifestyles as you can. They come in 3 different varieties, home, work, and social. And you want to collect sets of them, but you also want to collect stars. However, like you said, at the end of the game, you're going to be given a social rating based on decisions you make throughout the game. And if your star rating on your cards is higher than your social rating, you lose those cards.
Also, there are 2 other types of cards besides those lifestyle cards, and those are your double damage cards and then your lose 1 point at the end of the game cards. The reason is because each round you're possibly contributing cards to a stack of cards in the center of the game table. And these cards can either be face up or face down. So depending upon your order, in order to pick one of those stacks, you may be getting good cards, you may be getting bad cards. You really don't know at any given time.
Yeah, and the first player, who is the player with the highest social standing, is going to seed the board here with 2 face-down cards and 2 face-up cards. At least this is true for a 4-player game. You'll have a stack of cards out here for every player. So with a 7-player game or 6-player game, 6 stacks of cards.
So you're basically going to go through 3 rounds of the game, and each round is being able to take 3 actions. On your turn, you're going to take your pawn, and you're going to pick one of the possible actions on the board itself. We'll talk about all of these because they're pretty simple to understand. The first one is simply going here, and that's drawing 2 cards off the top of the deck and putting them into your hand. You're never going to have any time in the game where you just get free cards. You're going to have to go to spots that allow you to draw those to be able to place them in that tableau.
Yeah, the next action you can take is to gain an experience. Every round of the 3 rounds, you're going to put an experience marker out here. First player to go there gets to take that, puts it in front of them. That round, they're going to get a bonus experience to hand out, and we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, so the bonus experience, just to let you know, that's going to happen at the end of the round, and that's going to tie in very specifically with the app itself.
Right, yep.
The third action you could possibly take is to draw 1 card off the top of the deck, and then take one of those cards from your hand and place it face up into any one of these 4 stacks. You can also take the action right adjacent to it, and that's simply to take any one of the cards from your hand and place it into one of the stacks, but face down this time. And there's no limit to these stacks. They can have all the cards in one stack. It's just determined by the players itself.
Yeah, and you'll get to choose that. And remember, when you're placing face down, only you have that information.
Exactly.
So, which is why these spaces like this one here that lets you play 1 card face down and 1 card face up is important. So I can hide something like a really good card face down, but I can even put like maybe a negative point face up to shy everyone away from that spot, when really I just put a really high-powered card there. The last action you could take is just playing 2 face up on the board.
At the very bottom, there's also 6 spots to be able to take the home row action. And that home row action just allows you to draw 1 card into your hand. Now you're going to go around the board taking actions each turn. Now, once players have all of their pawns on the board, and it comes back to that player's turn, again, they have to actually move their pawn to a new location. Of course, they can move to a location that's not occupied. They can take that action. They have to move. They can't keep it in the same spot. Or they can move to a spot with someone else. and take that action. However, for every pawn in that location, they have to take one of their cards and give it to that player. Right. So that's going to be able to give people more information about the cards that people have in their hands and maybe the star values for those particular cards.
Yeah, and you're going to do this 3 times. You're going to do it every turn. You're going to replace this experience token so that another player can take one. But you're going to do that 3 times, and then that's basically the end of the gameplay round. In which case, then you're going to start looking at these piles here.
Yeah. Starting with the player who was in the lowest social standing, they're going to pick one of these piles, and they're going to take those cards. Once they take the cards, they're going to reveal them all at the same time. And they're simply going to lay them out in front of them into stacks of color-coded cards, or lifestyle cards. These are worth set values at the end of the game, but you're going to notice, as we said, they all have star values on the bottom as well. You're trying to score these for victory points at the end of the game, but it only matters according to your social score.
Yeah, if you got a negative point, it just kind of sits to the side.
Yep.
But if you got one of these double damage cards, this is going to double the amount of social damage you might take during the next round if you get thumbs down by some of the other players. And we'll talk about that in a second. But this double damage card, when you take it, it gets input into the app that you have one, and then you can just discard it from the game. It doesn't carry over.
All right, so I'm going to let Ryan talk about the actual app, but the 2 things that are going to be entered into the app after a round is completed is, as you just said, it was the double damage, and then also anyone who acquired one of these experience tokens, they're going to have the ability to input more experiences into the app itself.
Yeah, so when it comes time to enter the app phase, and you're going to enter the app phase 3 times, once after every set of rounds, you're going to pass your phone around to the different players, and they're going to be given a series of experiences. These experiences can be very negative or they can be very positive, but you have to assign one to every player. For example, I might get something that says, find out you ate a moldy sandwich, or you're late to your bus. Or they could be things that are really bad, like your parents are getting a divorce or there was a death in the family.
Right.
And you have to assign these experiences to the other players. After the phone has gone around, and you assign an experience to every other player at the table, which is where those bonus experiences come handy.
Right. Now, once that happens, when it comes back to the player, they're going to be given a list of experiences that other players have given to them. It's their time to choose the best possible experience and to choose a thumbs up or a thumbs down for those particular ones. They're going to obviously pick the best possible scenario out of all of those.
Yeah, sometimes you're giving a thumbs up to a pretty bad scenario, though. Everybody might give you something that's very negative, and you get 1 thumbs up to give to your favorite experience and 1 thumbs down to give to your least favorite experience.
And this is where it may be important to know the other people at the table, because there may be some things that may seem despicable or gross to one player, but they may be like, hey, I've done that before. I know he's done that before. He'll probably do this again. So that's where the social part of it comes into play, because you're giving those points back to player and increasing their social experience if they picked the right answer for that player.
Yeah, when you're given your choice, so you're going to have a series of choices. In a 4-player game, you'll have 3 options to pick from. You'll give a 1 thumbs up, a thumbs down. Whichever answer you gave the thumbs up to, that player is going to go up in social status.
Right.
Whoever you gave a thumbs down to, they're going to go down. And if that player also had one of those double damage cards, they're going to go down doubly from your thumbs down.
And the app is going to record all of that information in there. So by the end of a round, it's going to say like Jeremy 3.93, Ryan 2.2, and that's going to determine the round order for the next round. It's also going to determine at the end of the game, once you've played all 3 rounds, what your final social status score is, because you're only going to score points equal to whatever your social status is or below. So if my social status is a 3, but I have a bunch of 4 and 5-star cards, they're not going to score for me at the end of the game.
I'll tell you, getting to a 5 on that social status is going to be very difficult.
Yes.
So when you're choosing piles to draft, it's very important to balance out those stars. You kind of want to, if you get a lot of low cards, at least you're kind of guaranteed to keep them.
You're also getting points for your sets of cards at the end of the game. So you want to have a good balance of blue, green, and orange cards at the end of the game. So
that's right.
That is Black Mirror Nosedive. Let's talk about the actual review.
Yeah, so this is definitely, like you said in the beginning, a social experience.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of game to grab onto here.
No.
You're not making a lot of mechanical decisions. There's some interesting moments as far as like trying to trap other players with some negatives or give those double damage cards to the player that's in the lead. But there's really not a lot of opportunities. Most of the cards in the deck are just these colored cards with the stars. And though you do get to control which pile you're putting them in, you don't really get a lot of control over like trying to trick and fool your other opponents.
Yeah, this is completely dependent upon the group that plays the game. Now, for Ryan and I, this isn't typically a game that we're going to sit down and play. However, it might be a good game to introduce to people that, number one, like the TV series, obviously, but also to more casual gamers, people that haven't played games before, people that like that aspect of introducing technology into games, and also to just family members, like people that just know each other really well, relatives, close relatives, distant relatives, and be able to sit down and have this experience because it's super, super simple to play. It's basically picking cards, laying cards down, taking very simple actions, and then passing a phone around and answering questions for different people.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the real fun in the game comes from revealing those answers when you get past the phone, reading all the experiences you've got, having to choose. Sometimes it's very obvious. I think you got one was like being late for the bus or being granted superpowers.
Yeah,
well, that's an obvious choice, right? And I think that's the fun in the game is revealing those. It's kind of like a would you rather experience when, a lot of those social games or party games have you like, give out cards to the players and things like that. So it kind of emulates that within the app.
Yeah, having the app I think is a big bonus to this game because without the app, I think it would suffer greatly just on the game itself. But having that app and having a multitude of different questions, I think there's over 1,000 possible answers in the base game alone. I'm sure that'll be expanded.
Yeah, you're not going to see the same experience twice probably.
Having said that, this definitely is probably not a game for me. Like I can't see myself personally sitting down and playing this game because I'm more of a Euro gamer. This isn't a game that's going to, we're going to bring out and play socially. I'd rather play games like Don't Mess with Cthulhu and Werewords and stuff like that than this style of game. But I do appreciate the app. I think the app is integral to a game like this. I think it's really, really neat.
Yeah, I think we talk a lot on the show about using adaptive technology into these games, and I think that this app is a great example of using this physical element, making this physical element matter, but also having action take place. The app isn't just like a secondary thing that happens. It's integral to the game, but the cards and the board are just as integral. Yeah. So I think people that like app games, people that like Black Mirror, people that like light social party games, like this one you can throw it on the table and you can play it in 20, 30 minutes tops.
Yeah, it really depends on the group. Some people may really aspire to wanting to learn what the cards say. Other people just may worry about the star value alone because what it says on the card really has no relevance to the star value itself as far as gameplay.
Right, as far as gameplay, but there's some fun in like reading the different cards and seeing what kind of things you got in front of you. So like you said earlier, it definitely is going to depend on your table. If you got a bunch of serious gamers ready to sit down for a serious mechanical game, they're not gonna have any fun with this. But if you're just laughing, having a drink and having a good time, like this is easy to just play this game while you're socializing.
Guys, so that is Black Mirror, 3 to 6 player game. Takes 30 minutes to play, not very long. If you guys have any questions about it, make it in the comments below. Subscribe to us, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, everything else that we do, and we'll catch you guys next time.